today we are making a roasted garlic and Parmesan sourdough loaf. We are starting with 150 grams of active sourdough starter. Then we're adding 325 grams of filtered water. I go ahead and mix these two together until the starter is dissolved, or at least mostly dissolved. And then I add 500 grams of flour and 10 grams of salt. We go ahead and mix everything together again until we don't see any big pockets of flour left over in our bowl. We then let our dough rest for 30 minutes on the counter. By this time, you should have your garlic roasted and your Parmesan cheese ready. I also decided to add some softened butter to this mixture, and I decided to mix the Parmesan cheese, the garlic, and the butter and kind of mash everything together to make this like garlic bread topping type of mixture. And I wanted to try it out because I love garlic and Parmesan, but for some reason I wanted to make it like the croissant loaf that I made a few months back that went viral. You can even add some spices, some herbs to this mixture to give it even more flavor. So for this first stretch and fold, I just wanted to strengthen the dough before adding any of the inclusions. So I went ahead and did that. I stretched the dough, folded it over, and did this until the dough started to pull back. And then I just did a few slap and folds. I let the dough rest for another 30 minutes. And then on the second set of stretch and folds, I added the inclusions. This is the mixture right here. I regret not adding any spices or herbs to this mixture, but it's tasted so delicious, you guys, and it smelled like garlic bread. So I just added a few little chunks of this mixture onto my dough, and then I stretched my dough and I folded over. You can see there the Parmesan cheese was just popping through and it smelled amazing. So I went ahead and put some of this on the dough 4 times, stretching the dough, folding it over, and then I flip the dough upside down. That way when I do the third stretch and fold, I can add the butter mixture onto the bottom part of the dough. That way we have some of it everywhere. So I let my dough rest for another 30 minutes, and then I did my third stretch and fold, and here I still had a little bit of the butter mixture left over. So I went ahead and put it on this part of the dough, and then I did my third set, stretched the dough, folded over, and I let it rest, and I did my fourth set of stretch and folds. I do want to mention that I think I would have preferred to put the Parmesan cheese separate and just sprinkle it on the dough, just because when I did this mixture, the cheese didn't really sprinkle everywhere, if that makes sense. So I had chunks of Parmesan on the bread, which didn't taste bad, but I would have loved it for it to be better distributed, if that makes any sense. So I would say mix your garlic and your butter and your herbs or your seasonings, and then the cheese, sprinkle it afterwards. So don't mix it all together. That way the cheese isn't stuck to one place. I mean, the bites were really good where the cheese was at, all bundled up. On our fourth set, we are just going to do some coil folds, trying to be gentle. That way we don't rip the dough or tear it, and then the butter starts coming out from everywhere. So we let it sit on the counter for a few hours, and then once it was ready to be shaped, we go ahead and put it on our mat. And I do not laminate this dough. I just go ahead and shape it gently. And I will say that since the cheese was kind of bunched up in several places with the butter, the dough didn't rise as high. So if you do put the cheese separate, your dough will rise taller because the cheese won't weigh it down, because it won't be all stuck in one place or several bunch of places, but you know what I mean. We go ahead and do a gentle shape on our dough. I don't do a pre-shape. I just go ahead and shape it because I don't want the butter to just like ooze out everywhere. And then I try to stitch it a little bit. It's kind of hard because the butter, it's trying to like come out. but I just did the best that I could, and I went ahead and put it in the refrigerator overnight, and then the next day it was ready to bake. When I was ready to bake, I preheated my oven to 450 degrees, and I went ahead and scored my dough. This dough rose so much in the banneton, but it didn't rise as much as it baked because of all the cheese just bunched up in several places of the dough. You will see that there were big pockets of cheese in this bread once it was baked, but I kid you not, it was so good. It was flaky on the outside like a croissant, and it tasted like garlic bread on the inside. And we ate this loaf up. It was so, so good. So I hope you guys give this recipe a try. Did you hear that crunch? So, so good. And this is the crumb shot. It was still very hot because we just couldn't wait. We needed to eat it ASAP. I want to thank you so much for watching today's video. Give this video a like and a hype and subscribe. I'll see you guys in my next video.